We all have a story, and all Star Wars fans have a Star Wars story. Join James as he talks with a special guest each episode to share their Star Wars story.
Hey, it's the Outlander Club. I'm James Rosile. This is the show where you tell your Star Wars story. Today's guest, his name is just Podcast. He wishes. This is Gerry, the Canon Junkie, joining me today on the podcast. Your podcast. You just want to be called Podcast from now on.
What's really funny, James, is I have a podcast action figure literally within arm's reach. This is Podcast from Ghostbusters Afterlife is my spirit animal. Like, I was watching him, like I was the first time I watched that movie, and we're in it from the get-go here with me. But whenever I first watched Afterlife, mild spoilers towards the end, when the old guard shows up and Stan Aykroyd's talking to Podcast, and he goes, "Oh, you're MCW or whatever, or MOW," and he goes, "You're my subscriber." I was the single person who laughed really loud. I went, "Ha!"
Me too. Me too. I died. Yeah.
There was like several people of them, like no one left. And I was like, that's hysterical. And yeah, me and Scotty were talking. That was one of our favorite parts. Like, we were both like, I think he was the same. Because like Scotty's not like an OG Ghostbusters fan, but he went to see it, and he's like, now he's kind of like, the lore is pretty awesome and shit. Like, anyway, that it is what it is. It is what it is. So thank you for having me on, James. Thank you.
I was gonna say, thanks for being on. It means a lot. So happy to be able to talk Star Wars and maybe Ghostbusters, but mostly Ghostbusters. But at this point, it's more in the forefront of our minds. We'll just go right in. So when you first saw Ghostbusters, no, we will get into Ghostbusters a little bit. Because you were we talked a little bit before, and I won't give away what year you were born, but you were born in a dark time for Star Wars in a lot of ways. Right. Growing up, you might have, although at the same time, you kind of were probably at the perfect age when the prequels came up. But we will get into that, because you would know more than I would. I don't know. But what would you say is your first recollection of Star Wars? Do you have one?
So I do, and I've said this on some shows before. It's really funny because I remember being at my grandmother's house on my dad's mom's house, and I forget. I for some reason I imagine like all my cousins and everyone was there, and Empire Strikes Back was on TV, and it was honestly there's actually two instances that come to mind, but I think this is the first one that always pops in my head. I don't know which one came before chronologically. Yeah. But Empire Strikes Back was on. It was on Dagobah. They were on Dagobah, Luke and Yoda, and I remember being a little like scared of what was happening on screen, because it was like, it's dark and shadowy, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, what is this? Why is that guy talking to a little green monster? I forget how old I was, but it was old enough to like go and like be like, I don't know if I like this. Like, he's on a planet with a bunch of like snakes and spiders and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, but that was one. And then another one is, I remember being at another aunt's house, and my cousin was big into Star Wars. He's the one who kind of really pushed, like, I think, hey, you need to watch this. I was big into Thundar the Barbarian, or what is the Hanna-Barbera one where he has the sun sword? It's like after 1999, the world, succumbs to global warming or whatever. Like, they had it off by a couple decades. We're about to have like the glib-globs and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be running around, with sun swords and all that kind of, but I remember being into that, and he goes, dude, this is like sun swords, but better. And I don't think, because YouTube didn't exist, I don't know if he had the VHSs. I don't know if it was just on TV, but it was another Empire Strikes Back scene. And it was Luke and Vader fighting on the catwalk on Cloud City. And that intrigued me, I think, a little more. That sticks out in my mind. I think that really that was the moment I think I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, I dig that, It's like that guy with the blonde hair is kind of like, dirty blonde hair is kind of like Thundar the Barbarian and stuff like, like stuff like that. But yeah, no, that was kind of my, just, those are a couple of moments that really just stick in there and go like, okay, made my little brain go, well, what is this? I'm intrigued. a little frightened, apparently, because I was a little wuss. But yeah, that was that. Yeah, that was it.
Did it take off from there, or was that just is that just something that it might have meant something to you, but you didn't comprehend why at the time, and then you kind of push it to the back of your mind, and then when Star Wars became, number one in pop culture again, you're like, oh yeah, that's the thing, or did that spark like a Star Wars obsession?
So it started a little bit like it stuck in my brain for a little bit, and then it got pushed aside because like we were talking again, like I was a big Ghostbusters kid. I was I was born late 80s and stuff, I was right at the tail end and all that. But I think what took off for me was I believe it was the year before not the prequels, the year before the special editions, that the final release of the unspecialized, like the final release of the original theatrical cuts, and theatrical cuts I put in quotations because those movies have been special editions ever since 1978 and stuff. But even 77, I actually have I have my Faces edition. My parents bought the Star Wars Faces last OT thing. I actually have them right here. I got them from let me grab them real quick so I can show your video viewers and stuff. I have both.
Oh yeah, both.
I got these.
Yes,
these are mine from back in the day, and I watched the hell out of these things, man. I watched the crap out of these. Were like, I just remember like fast forwarding through the Leonard Maltin interview because as a kid, I'm like, I don't care about this. I want to get to the flashy swords and space lasers, space wizards and stuff. But then I went and I saw every special edition movie. My parents took me to every special edition film.
Wow.
When it came out in 95. And that was I think when I'm all in. Like I'm full on in. I was wanting to go get all the I remember like before all that came out, you remember the Bendham's action figures and stuff? My parents bought they bought me a few of the Bendham's. I had like Chewbacca, Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, R2-D2, and then, I'm going around trying, let me see if I have, oh, here it is. After the special editions came out, I'm trying to get all these cool,
I remember those,
this is my original mirror box here.
Wow.
For those of you who are audio, it's the Empire Strikes Back toy from, I think, Taco Bell, right? Where it's like, it's one half of it, it's a cube. One half of it looks like it's Darth Vader's floating head, and the other half looks like Yoda's floating head. And
that's cool.
I just remember going crazy, like after the special editions hit. And I was like, that's when I was like, I'm starting to buy like, Insider Magazine or I'm buying with my like, what was I back then? Like 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old money. Like I'm buying with my parents' money, all these things and stuff. And then now I've got, this is my original, like I begged my parents to get this, which this was an investment back in the day.
Yes.
Like buying these things, the special edition box set and everything. So that was kind of like it. I think the special editions were when my interest skyrocketed in it. And that is why I am a rare bird, because I love the special editions. I absolutely adore them. And I know they're not everyone's favorite and stuff. And it probably comes from, that was like, I was introduced to the originals, like we said, or the original cuts, quote unquote.
But you had an experience.
Yeah, that's how I saw them in the theater. I saw them on the big screen, and that is where I went, oh my gosh, like this is something special. Like something awakened in me then, so yeah.
Before, so see, I have a relationship with the special editions. I love them too. I grew up with the originals. No one ever bought them for me. My dad almost bought the face ones that you have, the originals,
right?
And then he said,
it's a good set. I was a spoiled kid. I'll admit, I was a spoiled. My parents bought me everything I wanted. I know.
Well, we already had them taped off of my grandmother's tape, so there was he was like, you don't need more. So it was like, but the special editions was the first time I got to see them in the theater, and I grew up with these movies. And then there was like a period of like 10 years or whatever when I watched Star Wars every once in a while. And then they came out in special edition, and one of my favorite characters is Jabba the Hutt, and they threw Jabba the Hutt in there, and I didn't care what he looked like or anything. I loved Jabba the Hutt, and I was all in.
Yeah,
and then I
thought that was so cool.
And it's still cool. I don't care what anyone says.
And I'm sure you've seen this. Those of you who watch Bombadcast, I'm holding up my original special. This is from 95, 96. I forget when, but it's like amazing. the Jabba the Hutt talking to Han Solo action figure, his tail wiggles and everything. And
amazing. I had the original Jabba from 83 or whatever, but that was long. That's long. Some charitable child is rich off of my old Star Wars figures, is what I always like to think. But yeah, especially
I lucked out. I never did that apparently.
No, you're so lucky.
I know.
I one day just where's my old this or that? Oh, what? We got rid of that years ago. Wow.
I think my parents were hoping it would pay for my college, all the action figures they were getting me and stuff, like from the 90s and stuff, maybe.
If you ever get a kid, they're like, don't take that out of you. Don't play with that toy. You keep it in the package. I think my dad would, if he had a DeLorean, would go back in time and he would not let me play with any of my action figures. Because I think back to what I had, I'm like, man, it's stupid. Just stupid.
Stupid good.
We use them for like their purpose. But looking back, I'm like, man,
it's like there's a Pixar movie in there. Like, do a Star Wars Pixar movie, like a Toy Story spinoff, where it's all Star Wars toys. Like they're in a collector's. Yes. I mean, this is Toy Story 2. It's just Toy Story 2. Toys don't want to be collected; they want to be played with. So never mind. It's already been done.
You're right. That was a great movie, Toy Story 2.
Fantastic.
So special editions are out. You are by the way, the special editions, the people listening can't see this, but you held up the box set of the special editions. That's the widescreen version. That's the widescreen version.
No, this is the full screen. The widescreen is the silver box that but like before the pandemic started, I almost got my hands on the widescreen VHS, but I have no VHS player, so I couldn't justify it because
was it the DVD they flipped it around where the widescreen was? No, DVD.
No, because with the DVD it was silver too. Because I have
it was silver. Yeah,
somewhere I have my DVD. I have every copy of the trilogy and all the films that I've had. I have them in a box somewhere. Right down to the spoiled child here. I have the 4Ks that I don't watch. They're just sitting looking pretty in my living room on the shelf right now. Because it's like I suffer from that modern disease where it's like, well, they're just on Disney Plus, right? So I'll just but they look.
I have
so
the Blu-rays of the first 6, and the last one I bought a physical copy of was The Force Awakens. I bought them all on digital, but the last physical one I bought was Force Awakens on the Steelbook. I got this. I splurged on that one. Yeah, and then I never used the disc, and so after that, I was like, I'm just gonna buy them on digital. And then Disney Plus came, and I was like, son of a gun.
I'm afraid of the solar flare, so that's why I've got, which I guess my discs would be erased anyway. I don't know. So I'm hoping the physical media will come back somehow. It's gonna be like records someday.
Yeah, I think so. I love records. I think I would get that 4K, like of all of them. I do want a physical copy of all of them. I think as much as I'm very much a digital.
Oh, go ahead. You're a digital guy.
I was gonna say I'm very much a digital guy, but there's some things that physical, you just want to own. Yeah.
I would highly recommend this is turning into a commercial for the Star Wars 4K, but the 4K.
Oh, that's what this is. Sorry.
No, no, it's fine. It's beautiful packaging. Like it's very minimalist, but like the way it's like that's what I loved about physical media is when they would do special stuff. Like they do less special stuff now, or they do, and they do it in limited quantities, kind of a thing. Yes. But this is a beautiful collection. It's got beautiful art on the inside when you open it up for every movie. And it's some of the most well done packaging I've seen in years. So that's all I'll say. I'm a nerd about that kind of stuff. So
no, like I said, like I'm a digital guy, but there are certain things that I want physical copies of. And it's weird because I'm a physical guy, but you mentioned like records and vinyl. And I'm like, there's some that I'm like, I want to get that. I have it on, Spotify or Apple. And I'm like, but I still want to own that vinyl. Why? So you can hear this. I'm like, I don't know. And then people are like, but it doesn't sound as good. I'm like, I don't know. It's just something that I want to own.
It sounds different. It's got that warm sound. It's like why VHS is actually kind of making a comeback right now. Like my buddy Scotty loves VHS and stuff.
Yes, he does.
Again, I don't have a VHS player, but it's got like that quality. It reminds you of your childhood kind of a thing. And
and that's I always say, at Christmas time, I'm like, I don't know, there's nothing like Christmas music on a record for me, like Nat King Cole with some crackling sound behind him. I'm like, I don't care. Like that's what it is.
It's ambiance kind of a thing. I don't know. It's weird because like I used to, before like my past relationship, we had a lot of records and stuff, but guess who got those? Anyway, like they were given to both of us. She got the record player. It's fine. I don't have one right now. But I remember we had some Beatles records and we would just put on a Beatles record or something. And those were just beautiful. We had like the Muppets, like the Muppet movie soundtrack on vinyl. And that was, I love to just put that on because I love the sound of Jim Henson as Kermit singing and everything. And it just, I don't know. It was just, it's got its thing. I get you. This is, I don't know why we're on vinyl and stuff, but it's fine. It's fine.
We're going all over. I got to ask you too, how many Ecto ones do you have in your room right now?
Currently, right now, I have so you can see this is the plasma series that fits none of the figures. Like that's the thing that I'm kind of like, I don't know why they made one with a little gunner seat and everything, and they don't give me figures that fit in it. So okay, whatever, but it's still cool. But
it is.
It's cool. Oh, dude, and then I was one of the suckers who on opening night going to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I got this is the popcorn. The popcorn holder and the top opens.
Canada didn't have that.
Yeah. Oh man. AMC at my AMC, I didn't know if they would have it or not. They had a big stack of them. They're like, "You want one of these?" I was like,
"Yes."
Do I look like an idiot? Yes, I do. Yes, I am an idiot, and I want one.
We don't have AMC in this country anymore.
Oh man. See, I never had AMC where I was originally from, but up here in Michigan, they're all over. But here's the best part of it.
Oh, what?
Is the lights? The lights work when you push this button up here. But again, I'm not gonna put popcorn in that thing because for one thing, I don't see how you clean it. Like I don't want to have to clean it for one thing. But
the clean. So when I went, this is now Ghostbusters podcast. When I went,
it could be Ghostbusters chat.
They only had cups, and the cup had like spoiler alert had Paul Rudd being possessed on the cup.
Oh,
so I'm.
They didn't have that for me.
That's all they had. So I was like, because I went with my wife, my in-laws, and my nieces and nephew, and I'm like, we're gonna watch Ghostbusters. Let's go. And we went. I'm like, I'm gonna spoil them. I'm gonna buy them like a pop topper, like anything they want with Ghostbusters, they get. I don't care as long. Because it already cost $400,000 to go see it. So I go in, and then I'm like, well, I guess I don't see anything. I'm like, I just get pop and popcorn. And then my nephew goes, Uncle James, look, a spoiler. And I look up, and there's the cup with Paul. It was on a screen that kept changing, and it's Paul Rudd possessed. And I'm like, well, that's great. I was like, all right, but that's all they had was like a disposable cup with Paul Rudd on it, and I was like,
oh my goodness,
I would have paid whatever they wanted me to pay to get that Ecto one. My wife would not have been happy. My nieces and nephew would have been happy until they found out that I was keeping it.
Right.
I mean, this cost me amazing.
It cost me 35 big ones if I remember correctly.
But that is if that was in the store,
not bad
it would
for
cost
that.
you like 45. Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy with it. It sits right here. It's by me and stuff like that. It's got the rust and everything. If you can see.
Yeah,
all
I
that,
noticed that. I can't tell like what it actually like looks like quality wise, but on this end it looks high quality, like really good.
It looks. I mean. It holds popcorn is what I'll say. Because Scotty was like, that looks better than your plasma series. I'm like, well, like, do you like that better than the plasma series? I'm like, well, the plasma series because it's more detailed. It is a little more detailed. Like it's got like a little bit of weathering on the logo on the door and everything, and stuff like it looks. Nice. It looks legit. This is still cool though. Like this is like I can't believe that
on the screen exists. It looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what you do. Like you look at like screen use things, and usually it's like, oh, that's kind of like worse quality than I thought it would be because they're just sometimes it's just like in movie production, just slap it together and see if it looks good. It looks good on the camera, so we're good.
It looks good. It's fine. We're moving on.
Yeah.
That's why we spoke before. That's my favorite movie vehicle. But let's get back to Star Wars now, because this is
right. Ghostbusters talk, whatever. It's fine.
But
we'll come back.
We both grew up. We grew up with both special editions. You get it. The gold one, which is the full. I didn't have the gold or the silver. So I didn't know which was which. Because I had them on taped off my grandma's tapes, and I was told you will not own those. And then we
didn't have them taped. I think that's the only reason they let me have them.
You love it,
maybe.
Yeah, that's
maybe. I don't know.
That's why
my parents were like, "We need those."
Wow. Yeah, we need to own those. They're gonna be worth something one day. When did you discover the Phantom Menace? Were you like aware of that before it happened? Were you, because you were young, so was the trailer like a big deal for you, like it was for me? I was in high school, so like that trailer release was a thing, right? That was an event on its own, and the internet wasn't really. The internet was weird. It was like, what's the internet? Well, download this QuickTime file and see, a gun game that you don't know what, But so was that a big deal, or was it just straight to the movie for you?
No, okay, so I don't remember exactly if I went to go on like opening night or not. Like I can't remember. But I remember the build up to it. I remember because I was reading after the special editions. If I saw an insider, and there was this one grocery store in my hometown in Arkansas who would sometimes have Star Wars Insider magazine like on their shelf, which you can hardly find it anywhere these days. I feel like no one really cares. It's like a really special interest. It's the specialist of special interests. But I would beg my mom to buy them, so I knew something was coming. And we didn't have internet, but my aunt who lived down the street had internet and stuff, and so I remember going and downloading that trailer. Like it took forever, but I remember finding it and watching it. And I don't know, because we would go to the movies. Like my parents would like to go to the movies and stuff, and I would beg anytime a big movie came out, I would say like, hey, can we go see this one? And so maybe we went once or twice a year or something, kind of like made a night of it and everything. It was always my parents really instilled a love for theater and stuff, like the movies and going to the theater and things like that. But I remember being aware that there like something is coming. I never, again, I wasn't getting online. I wasn't old enough to get online and all that kind of stuff. I was like 10 and 11 reading about all this kind of stuff, the build up to it. And I mean, I would mainly look at the pictures and stuff, like skim articles and stuff like that. Like I'm 10 and 11, I'm like, whatever, I don't understand a lot what's going on here, but I know that they are doing something. And like I remember getting excited because like I think Insider did like a story about some of the characters, and my favorite one from the get-go that they did like an issue, I think, where it was like, here's some of the new characters that are going to be in the movie. I think it was a year before, and Sebulba was one. Yes. And I remember me and we were friends for like a year. Me and this kid, we were like bitter enemies, then friends, then bitter enemies again. But when we were at the period where we were friends, I remember reading that in the balcony of our school auditorium, like coming and showing him. And we both, like, I was like, I love this. And I was calling him at the time Sebulba because and then after I saw the movie, that kid was like, I still like Sebulba. I'm like, well, but it's Sebulba. Like it's those canon arguments start early, But I remember like I loved, and I still to this day, I don't know if you can see him on top of the Ghostbusters firehouse there. That is a wind up Sebulba toy that my buddy Nick Milkey just sent me and everything. But
wow,
I remember like just being so excited. Like the toys came out, that was like the last time, the only time I've seen something close to that was the fever pitch for Force Awakens. But even that was nothing compared to the fever pitch of excitement for the Phantom Menace, like at all. Like, and I was, again, I was what I call the George Lucas sweet spot of 12 years old. I was 12 years old when that movie released, and I went to see it with my best friend at the time. It wasn't the kid that, we were enemies. This was my best friend since kindergarten. We went to see it, him and his mom and me and sister, because they were all big Star Wars fans too. And I remember just like absolutely losing our crap on the way home, just like talking about like Darth Maul, everything like that. It's just that's such a golden age in my mind. That time, that was the last time I remember. Like I remember it felt like a wall of action figures. That's the only time I think I've ever seen a wall of Star Wars action figures, was when The Phantom Menace came out, and they had like a big display that was just all the action figures and stuff like that. That's the only time I ever remember it in my life, unfortunately. So
the Force Awakens, the experience was very similar to Phantom Menace, but Phantom Menace, I think the few things was there was more time had passed between, and there was no promise of Star Wars for so long. Whereas the Force Awakens, it was like 2005, and then Clone Wars was kind of like, that it was like it was there. Not, most people would ignore it, but it was still like Star Wars was still kind of there. And then the Disney purchased in 2012. They were like, we're going to make them. So there wasn't enough time for us to miss Star Wars compared to the Phantom Menace, and it's a completely different era as well. Like no social media,
right?
Internet. It was like darkness, and you're like, well, here's a book, Heir to the Empire. Maybe I was too young for that, so that wasn't. Shadows of the Empire was a great thing.
Yeah.
But you might have been too young for that. So it was like, it was a really dark time. And the Phantom Menace just came and it changed movies also. Like, Jurassic Park changed them. It changed film as well and what it was doing.
Absolutely.
So amazing. Yeah.
I mean, people give Andy Serkis all the credit for, all that. Look, I know all of us Star Wars fans are like, don't count out Ahmed Best for being like the first motion capture performer. Again, it was in its infancy. Like at that, but they put it on the map, honestly. They discovered new territory. I feel like that then allowed Andy to do. Again, Andy's amazing. Andy Serkis.
Yeah, you can't have one without. It's kind of like when people argue who's is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan or whatever. It's like, well, you can't have one without the other, and that's how it goes through all of history, right? It's like, this person's this good because this person existed before, and that's how that's how I look at the technology. But George Lucas was that was his, and that one thing I really love about The Mandalorian is they've kind of brought that aspect of Star Wars back with the volume and stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Jar Jar Binks, we mentioned Ahmed Best. We got to go into Jar Jar Binks. You're 11, 12 years old. I'm 18, I think, at the time. I love Jar Jar. I talked to Sky that I'm still a huge Jar Jar fan. I've been defending him for 21 years or whatever it's been.
God bless your heart.
It's been tough.
We appreciate your work.
I did a video on Jar Jar when we first started, and I got killed, and I was like, but I will stick with it. And but George Lucas told Ahmed Best years ago, he said, they hate you now, but the kids who see it now will be adults and they will love you. And I got to know, you were right at that sweet spot. Did you love Jar Jar? And you can't kind of give the answer away, but do you love Jar? Did you love him then? And do you love him now?
Well, so I don't remember, like, I was 12 years old. I loved the guys with lightsabers. That's the thing. Yes. But I didn't hate Jar Jar. Jar Jar was Jar Jar. I was like, that's just Jar Jar. He's a cool he's a character. Cool character. I have my Black series actually right here, which I'm so happy finally exists. But I remember at the time being, because again, 12 years old, like, oh yeah, that's Jar Jar Binks. He's just part of the story. And then again, not being online in between that and the and Attack of the Clones, and honestly not really even knowing much of the hate until I got out of high school, after they all three had come out, Revenge of the Sith and everything, which Revenge of the Sith was the first one I saw on my own. Me and that best friend who saw Phantom Menace, we went the midnight screening. There was a guy dressed like Darth Vader behind us. It was like my first experience in like a crazy cool theater, but after high school, I started working at a movie theater, and that's when I started realizing people's movie opinions on, like, nerds who hated these movies were like my age and stuff too were like, oh, they're kind of bad and all
really?
this. And Jar Jar's dumb. Like, it's a stupid character. And I remember at the time, like, just for survival, going like, oh yeah, I guess. Okay. I kind of like was one of those kids where I was like, okay, because every time I talked about it, I would get like beat down, like not like little, but like, figuratively, like they would talk like, but this is kind of dumb. And this is how I'd be like, I guess I see where you're coming from. It's not the best and things like that. But like, this is the kid who, like, I mean, every time one of the DVDs came out after I finally got a DVD player, Phantom Menace, I begged my mom to buy the VHS. She bought it, came home. I slapped it in the VHS player, watched that thing like twice that night. And then Attack of the Clones was the first one on DVD. And then I think they might have released Phantom Menace right before that, but it was like after it had already been released on VHS.
Yeah,
and
I was
then
saying to I think Scotty this week that was the first movie I ever owned on both VHS and DVD, and it was this weird thing where I'm like, "Why are you buying it again?" Well, because it's on DVD.
Yeah, it's like now I can have it in a better format, and but like I remember getting Attack of the Clones like after that came out too, and I was like I think I was, oh man, okay, so 2002. I was about probably 14, 15, maybe around there. Like, so I was like more of a teenager then and stuff. But I remember like I would watch that like every night. I would just put the DVD of Attack of the Clones in, watch it every night and stuff. But yeah, no, I guess I don't know. Like, I look back on the times where I'm like, I guess I see what you're saying. I guess it is kind of bad. And, I would like, oh, I guess, those love lines in Attack of the Clones are kind of bad and stuff, and different things like that, but like I never wanted to like hate any of this stuff. And Jar Jar, especially, you see him, they're pulling back on him pretty hard in the next two, which is just kind of sad. But fast forward to, again, like grown up me, I don't hate Jar Jar Binks. I think it's a great character, and in fact, like I love to love him because it makes people. So it's cool to hate on Jar Jar Binks, like, you know what I mean, in the worst way. It's like oh, that's the thing that everyone who's like a casual Star Wars fan is like, oh, everyone hates Jar Jar Binks, right? I'm like, no, that's not the way to go. But dude, I went going to Celebration in 2019 in Chicago. Celebration Chicago. The 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, right?
Yeah.
I remember being on the show floor with, shout out to my friend Scott Gibson at Scott Gibby and stuff. He on Twitter. He is fantastic dude. We're walking around the show floor, okay? And we hear, "Welcome to the Star Wars show stage, Ahmed Best." And I mean, everyone on the show floor just like this entire mass of people. There was hardly no one stayed with the shops. Everyone was just like, I mean, except for the shopkeepers, probably. Like the guys who ran the booths were at their booths and stuff. But like, everyone just centered on Ahmed Best. And I remember like seeing him. We were behind where they were doing the interview. I remember seeing the back of his head and everything. Like everyone's just giving him, like, clapping for him. Fast forward to, the day before the last day, I forget when it was, the Phantom Menace panel, 20th anniversary panel. And he gets a standing ovation. No one deserves. And that was like right after I think he had put on Twitter about he contemplated jumping off a bridge and took his son to it. And just like, that was such a powerful post. And I don't think people realized the effect that we're finding out more of the effect that you have on actors and people and things like that. Back in the day, people still don't care. People still say,
they don't care.
Very, very crappy things.
I don't want to get into it, but I don't understand what it is about hiding behind like an avatar, a picture of yourself, and feeling the need and like the power to say such hurtful. I don't get it, especially people you don't know. Like, I just don't. Yeah. I don't understand I understand not liking a movie or a character. I think that's fair. It's subjective. You can be like, I didn't really like Jar Jar, but how? I don't know, when they go after, Ahmed Best, Daisy Ridley. There's so many that they've gone, and other franchises too. Like, I can't comprehend I couldn't see myself going online being like, this person is the worst, you know, or
No.
obviously worse than that. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and like not to get too much into that. Like all I've ever seen, it's mostly like young people or older people who are bitter, and they're usually going for laughs or something, or just like, oh, this is cool. This is I don't know. It's one of those things. Like it's as the kids say, it's cringe, which is cringe for me to say, you know. So
it's cringe. It's cringe.
It is what it is.
I didn't get to go to Chicago. I had to work, but my friend Andrew went. Yeah, my friend Andrew went, and the only panel I wanted to go to was the Phantom Menace panel, and I ended up winning the lottery for that, and I ended up giving it to him. And I was so mad that I couldn't go. Like when I won that lottery, I was so like, I was ticked off because when we were in Orlando, I got all those mystery box pins, and at one point I told my wife, I'm like, record me opening it, it'll be funny. So I recorded opening it, and it was Ezra. And I was like, yeah, it's Ezra. And I put it away. She puts it away. Then my friend goes, there's another one in there. I go, what, there's two? And I open it up. And there's no recording. And it was Jar Jar. And we were in the Rogue One panel with Doug Chang. And it hadn't started yet. And I got Jar Jar and I yelled. And people like all around are looking. I was like, yeah! I was like, you're the only one excited to get Jar Jar. And I think they mass produced Jar Jar for those. But I was so excited for this Jar Jar big spin. Like it was the greatest moment of celebration. I don't care what anyone says.
Dude, that's incredible.
Trailer be damned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible. Yeah. And you didn't miss much. You just missed. Okay, it was pretty great. I'll just say, I don't want to make you jealous anymore. Yeah. Oh man. Like I forget I think it was before they were warming up the crowd. We're all singing like Bye Bye Mr. Anakin guy and everything. That was a surreal moment.
Told me.
That was a surreal moment, seeing everyone with their lightsabers and everything like that. That's but anyway, cool. Sorry. It was it's a moment I felt connected to so many people. Like,
yeah, I won't be at Anaheim either, so you get to have more of those moments that I can sit in the back crying.
Oh man, hey, we'll have to cry together because I'm pretty sure me and Scotty both will be in Anaheim. So looking forward to it, buddy. Looking forward to
it. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Let's go on now. Revenge of the Sith. You're a teenager. You see it. Did you love it immediately? Was it your favorite Star Wars when you watched it, or was it not quite up there with the other ones? Or how did you? Because you are a teenager, and now you're kind of. Yeah. I know you didn't feel that way, like you said, but you're still a teenager, and teenagers are, let's be honest, they're
a-holes.
They have opinions.
I sat by some. I don't know if anyone saw. Like, I think you probably were liking some of my tweets. So I went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife again. I've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife like 50 times in the theater. Three times because it's one of my favorite things forever. I was sitting by teenagers that were like making fun of some dude was laughing at the jokes up at the front, sitting with his wife, and there's these teenagers that they'll go like, huh, after a joke, making fun of his life. I'm like, you guys are such a-holes. Like, but I was never one of those a-hole kids, but I remember really liking it. But I don't know, like, I can't remember if it was my favorite. Honestly, this is kind of the way that it's been for me. Like, as soon as a Star Wars movie releases, it's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Usually. Because it's new Star Wars that I never thought I was going to get, like, especially back then, right? Like, back then, it's like, oh, this is my favorite Star Wars. I think, like, after that, I started to, mature into a little bit of a very vanilla stance of I love Empire and stuff like that, like as I grew older and stuff and my movie opinions matured with me, I was like, oh, Empire is like, not because of like it's darker and everything like that, but just like it felt like one of the more well-made ones. I
agree.
I
never put Empire number one, but I do think it is the most well made, especially of the first six. Or the original three anyway. There's something I don't know. There's just something about it that's very classic film, maybe, just like you're like, oh, I'm watching something special here.
Yeah, there's a reason why a lot of people put it at the top, and even critics and everything, which back in the day, I guess some critics were giving it, crap, but I I don't know, like right now, honestly, I'm moving too far ahead in the future. Like right now, I might put Last Jedi as the most well made, but that's just me. I don't know. It fluctuates between those two. Those two to me are like my favorites. I think because they're just like they're both so mysterious, and they're like they don't do necessarily what you want. I guess Empire does what more people want. But it leaves the characters a little worse for the wear by the end. Both of them do, and just I don't know. They're both very interesting deconstructions, I think. So, but it's I don't know. Like, I remember just I remember a lot of people like liking Revenge of the Sith, but I also remember I remember a lot of criticisms that my friends had. You know what I mean? Like my friends that once I got into the movie theater, that was right after, and they were like, "Oh well." You know, it doesn't show any of the cool stuff, you know, like blah, 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 blah. But I remember people thinking
Teenagers.
like, oh, that's the most that's the most watchable of all of them, right? Because it's dark and brooding, and it's a teenager movie. It's literally about a teenager doing what all teenagers, you know, wish they could do, is like, you know, buck the system and, you know, do their own thing, but then and end up horribly maimed. Maybe that's not a teenager thing. I don't know. Like, probably not. I don't think I would want it. No, I didn't want that. So, no. But anyway, don't look up to Darth Vader, kids.
Yeah, look. So you're working at a movie theater. How long did you work there for? And when you were done, did you kind of like you're working at a theater now? Did you become like a film like a full on film nerd? Like I only like the finer films in life. And did Star Wars stay with you during that time?
I think I'm the most. I think I'm the least cynical film nerd, and I'm still like I've still got a ton of holes and things like that. That I got a film education from my friend. Like I saw a lot of stuff my friends were like, you know, like, hey, you should like the whole staff there. We were all kind of friends. We would go to people's houses. We would watch different movies and stuff. The first time I saw Mallrats was when I started working at the theater. I was a little conservative Christian kid, you know, like back in the day. Like my family was, you know, like they going to church every Sunday, things like that. They didn't necessarily. My parents never sheltered me necessarily. I mean, we were talking about Ghostbusters 2 earlier. I'm pretty sure I figured out over Thanksgiving. I'm like, you guys took me literally to see Ghostbusters 2 in the theater when I was 3 years old, didn't you? And Mom was like, oh yeah, we did. Yeah. So I went like my parents were like, I guess my parents are like the most like, you wouldn't think that they're nerds by looking at them and stuff, but like they like those movies and things like they're like the most casual nerds of all time. But they're like, oh, Ghostbusters, you know. I think they said my aunt had taken their older kid Joey to it, which he was like 15 at the time or something. He was like almost a teenager at the time, I'm pretty sure, or like a younger kid, and they're like, oh, we'll take our 3-year-old kid to go see Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's the 80s, man. That was yeah. Anyway, it was a wild time.
That's the 80s. My dad, you woke me up one day. He goes, "You're gonna watch this movie. It's Die Hard." And he took me. We watched. I was like 9 years old, and we're watching Die Hard. I'm like, yeah, you couldn't do that now. I would have been taken away. You could I was like 3. Like we're watching Jaws. I've been afraid of the ocean ever since. That's just what you did in the 80s. It's like there's no safety net. You know, it's like riding a bike, no helmet, jumping off cliffs. We did whatever we wanted. Somehow, maybe we survived that. Or this could be the afterlife. I don't know.
This is It's like we're the cast of Lost at the end. Like we got to find all the people we created heaven with and stuff. You know, and not to spoil Lost. But sorry. It's like 10 years of spoilers there plus. No, I guess I would say upon reflecting on the last few years, I'm more of a pop culture nerd than a film nerd, maybe. Like I want to get more into film. Okay. I love good, like, you know, indie films. I love good like Oscar films, things like that, you know, like the classics and things like that. I want to get around to seeing. But like when I was a kid, especially, like E.T. was a movie I loved. Back to the Future. We watched all the Back to the Future movies. Ghostbusters 2, you know, like Star Wars. My parents kept me at least in the loop on a lot of like the big, like, you know, like these are like 80s, at least 70s and 80s staples and stuff. Like I remember being into that kind of stuff. So I was more of I guess maybe I'm more into like that kind of stuff, which is why I dig the nostalgia of like Stranger Things and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
But no, like, again, I am very much into film. I love going to theaters and stuff. Again, my first job was at the movie theater because I loved going to the theater so much. And then I'll tell you, I don't think I've answered this yet. So you asked how long I worked there. The place opened up in 2005. And I think I worked there until I was about to get married in 2013. About eight, was that? Or 2012 or something. I can't remember exactly. I think it might have been 2012, 2013, the summer of 2013, maybe, I think is when I finally finished. But like around 8.5 years, I worked at that place just because I loved it so much. And it was all the same people, all the same kids. Like we grew up with each other and things like that. It was kind of like a little family. And I still go back, and like that theater is very crappy now. But like I have some friends who are like in management positions and stuff there still. And like I'll go and like they'll like, and apparently like
Cool.
my parents said that they'll go to that theater sometimes in my hometown and they'll say, "Hey, we're Gerry Cable's parents. You know who he is?" And they'll go, "I've heard of him." Like kind of a thing. So I guess I have a bit of a legend there apparently. But yeah, it's just,
legend.
you know, honestly, it's been my favorite job ever. I wish that it like paid the bills, because I would work in a movie theater for the rest of my life if I could make that kind of, if I could live off of that kind of a thing. You know, it's just I love it so much. So
I worked at one after my first year of college, the year Fast and the Furious 1 came out.
Ooh,
Whew, that was tough, man. That was
those
tough.
Fast and
Everyone
Furious
would go
movies were
behind.
tough ones to go through. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was around for like
was...
Tokyo Drift.
Oh, because
I'll tell you,
because the first,
well, we got to screen the movies with the projectionist. Most people did, and
Yeah.
so I was like, I became fast friends with the projectionist guys, which they were both nerds. They're the ones who were like, they kind of disliked the prequels a little bit back in the day.
Yeah,
I think
I
they
can
like
see
them
that,
more
yeah.
now. They're a little Disney right now, which I'm a little like, they don't go harass people online though. So that's how I justify. And it's
Well,
it's okay to not like some of it.
That's the thing. I think it's fair because, I mean, they've made 5 movies. Like, you know, it's hard to like, if you're not a diehard fan, like that's 5 movies, and the odds of you liking all 5, or even 3 out of the 5, that's, you know, the odds aren't really in your favor there when you think about it. Like, there's so much.
We're a special breed who talk about this stuff all the time, honestly. But I remember, so the back to Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, we like basically the entire staff stayed and screened that movie. And no lie, most of us were the stupid kids doing donuts in the giant parking lot because it like 2 in the morning in the middle of town. I mean, there were residential houses like close by, but we were just like, you know, like, because we were stupid kids in college. We were having it was I mean, seriously, that's the most fun I've ever had at a job. I can't believe we didn't die that night. I can't believe we didn't get arrested or anything. We were in the parking lot. We weren't like, it wasn't too bad. We weren't like blocking traffic and stuff like that. So, but I don't know if you're talking, I think you might be talking more about the crowds and stuff you get for different movies and stuff like that. Like that's interesting, dealing with some of the,
I was talking about after, when people were in the parking lot pretending that they were thinking that they're Vin Diesel and
like us
and their mom's
stuff.
minivans. Yeah.
Dude, I went to see before. I know I was working at the movie theater, but we didn't have this movie. But me and a buddy went to a town 20 minutes away to watch the Dukes of Hazzard movie that came out with Sean William Scott and Johnny Knoxville. And we tore his oil pan on the way home that night. He was driving, but we thought it was funny. We went into a ditch and came back up, and we were like, oh, hope it's okay, you know. I should be dead, but you know, it's whatever.
Would you even consider doing that today? Like, would that thought even cross your mind to do that today?
No, because like I was never like a bet. Like I would do stuff like that on gravel roads, like out in gravel, like big gravel parking lots and stuff. Like a couple of times I did that. There's a couple of times, only once did I do something really stupid on an actual street. And it was like a driveway to like the bowling alley. like a bowling alley it was really seedy. Now looking back on it, I think it's still the only bowling alley in my hometown, but it was behind a grocery store and all like this like shopping center that's now is like all defunct stores. I don't even know if there's anything in it, but like I remember like going and I was trying to impress a girl who was in the car with me, and I just threw on my e-brake as we were going down the thing, and like we completely turned around. And but like now, like I actually did so okay, the one time I used to pride myself on being the best driver on snow in Arkansas, because like I'm like, you got to take it slow and things like that, you know. And I was filming a bunch of videos for this youth rally for my parents and stuff back in the day for church stuff, you know what, and I was on a back road that paved and everything, but like it was sleeting and snow, like it was pretty heavy. And I came down a hill and started to slide, and I put a little brake on. I shouldn't have put any brake on. I should have kept it straight. Like I know that now, but I ended up rolling over. So after that, and I was fine,
Wow.
but like that was surreal. And luckily the guy who was filming the videos, who was also a volunteer fireman, was right behind me, came through there. Like I was completely fine, unhurt. I scratched up my hands getting out of the car, which is it, like superficial scratches. It was insane.
Wow.
I have a little bit of fear now. So the long way, that was a long way to answer your question, but the answer is there's no way, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to do anything like that ever again, because are you kidding me? Like I live in Michigan now, and like every time it snows I have to drive to work in it, I'm like, I'm white knuckles like in the snow now and everything, because I'm like, you have to respect this. You know,
Michigan gets snow too. Like it gets snow.
Oh yeah, I mean we got to like I don't know, it's not been as much in the past couple of years, but it still is like it gets a good amount when we get it. But they clear it off better here. They clear it off better, and it's a drier snow than in Arkansas. Arkansas, it's wet when it falls, like and then it melts during the day, and then it turns into ice overnight. And so, and all they have is sand to put on it and stuff. So I don't know, they don't like have the resources to take care of it. So it was even worse down there. Like everything closes down for real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you like North or South Michigan? Can I ask? Like,
I am. I'm Southwest Michigan. Like I'm around Grand Rapids. For those of you who might want to come and rob me or anything like that, you know.
No, I just
you can pinpoint my location.
There is a point in Canada which is more south than, I don't know if all of Michigan or part of Michigan. So, just saying. There's no point to that. I just know.
No, that's an interesting factoid though. I enjoy that and stuff. Like I still haven't been to Canada. I've come this close. I need to make it up there because I would like to just say that I've been to Canada and stuff. You know, whatever.
Well, you'd be close to like Windsor, that area. Go to a Lions game and then just cross the border after. I think that's really close. I've been to two Lions games actually.
Yeah, my ex's parents were saying like they used to go on dates across, my ex's mother was like, yeah, I used to have guys take me across to Canada for dates and stuff, you know. Like
I have friends in Windsor, and they say, yeah, that's how it used to be in like the 90s. Apparently, you would just there's a tunnel, and you didn't need a passport or anything. They were just like, no, we just walked across, and they have all these stories about going there, and no one cared. Like so, they would get drunk and like pass out in between countries. And they're like, no one cared back then. Now it's like a thing, but yeah.
No, yeah, like now, like looking back, it's like it's the Wild West back in the day, man. You know, like people like going back and forth between countries, and like I never flew before 9/11, and so like
really?
I can't imagine a world where you don't have to like go through like you're a criminal and take your shoes off and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's insane.
I flew. I used to ride my bike across the border to Buffalo to New York, Niagara Falls, New York. I'd just be like, "Let's go on our bikes," and we would like go on. Or we'd walk across, and you pay like $1.50 in a toll to cross. And you're like, doo-doo.
Yeah.
I used to do it all the time. I don't know. That's I don't think you can. I don't know if you could do any of that now. You could obviously. You have to have a passport. Back then, you just were like, "Hey, I'm on a bike."
Yeah, it's like we're gonna get on a bike. We're gonna cross the border. It's fine, whatever, you know.
And then you'd come back with 17 sweaters on because you did some discount shopping in New York. Like, sir, you hot? No, I didn't buy any of these. None of them.
I'm all good. Yeah.
Take the tags off. Yeah. So you were working or just wrapping up at the theater during the Disney acquisition? We got to get back to this. I'm sorry, we sidetracked.
No, you're good. Yeah, I know. Like you're fine. Like if anyone listens to me on this thing, if you're a listener of Bombadcast or anything, I can talk about whatever the hell I want. So go ahead. But yeah, back to Star Wars.
Yeah, back to Star Wars. So you were wrapping up at the movie theater, or you might have just been there for another year when the Disney acquisition happened. Did that was that impactful for you at all? Like, did you pay attention to that? I imagine with your job you would have. So I just want to hear that story. Well,
and I can't. So I'm trying to remember. Like, honestly, everyone's like, I remember exactly where I was. I don't know if it's just that, I got into like a fever dream after it happened or whatever. But I don't remember where I was. I can't remember where I was when I found out. But I know I was with I know that like I was already dating my ex and everything right before we were about to get married and all that. And she I was into Star Wars, but it was on the back burner. It's like Star Wars was something, it's done. I like it. It's good. Yeah. I would watch the Clone Wars. Like every time Clone Wars released a season would release on DVD, I went out and bought it and watched it. Because I couldn't catch it like in order, which I found out later. It wasn't even in order on the DVDs, so whatever. But I would watch, that every now and then. I remember I'm dating my ex and everything, and I don't know, my personality went from like day to night. Like I went into, I am a Star Wars freak. Like I always have been, but I remember whenever I heard the announcement, I was like, oh my God. Oh, are you kidding me? Like we're getting more Star Wars. Like they're going to make another Star Wars. It's going to be a sequel. And it's like, you don't understand the possibilities of things they can do. And I remember just from then on, Christmases, I would get random piddly little Star Wars, anything someone found at a gas station or on a Kohl's checkout shelf that was Star Wars. People were getting me, her family was getting me, and my family, anyone was like, hey, here's a Star Wars thing. You want the Star Wars thing? Which again, I've always been a Star Wars person. My parents have always known that. My family's if you've known me, I've always been into it. But that was a time where I think we were all starting to get more into the Marvel movies and things like that. That was where I was kind of I'm digging these superhero movies that are coming out because I didn't grow up reading the comics and everything. My friends were into it, so that's where I kind of was. And I remember. Again, it was like a switch flipped, and all of a sudden, it was just fever pitch anticipation. Like anything, that's when I found Star Wars Episode 7 Newsnet was what it was at the time. But now it's Star Wars Newsnet, the site, for Resistance Broadcast and all them are attached to that now and everything. But I remember I would check that site every day. I got a job at the college I used to go to as a recruiter, and that was I put it on my recruiting calendar. Star Wars releases this day. As soon as I got the year because you had a year calendar, big wall one laminated, so we could write in dates and activities and stuff. And I wrote in Force Awakens releases this day and stuff. And I remember looking up stuff about Rebels and everything because Rebels came out before Force Awakens and everything. And it's kind of hard to remember that sometimes because it all seems like
it was I think it was a season and a half right before Force Awakens.
Yeah, because season 2, that's where they had the first crossguard lightsaber, not in a Star Wars movie. I remember being at my ex's grandparents' house watching at Thanksgiving that release trailer, the first trailer, with BB-8 and the unused shot of Kylo in the snow, igniting his saber, which is still such a cool shot.
Sweet shot.
It's just I was. It literally again it was crazy because I remember I don't remember where I was, but I do remember it being all of a sudden oh wow, Star Wars is coming back. I really love Star Wars. I'm back in, and not it never went away, but I just remember the fever pitch came back with a vengeance. It was an attack of
like
the clones,
Pacino in
so to
Godfather
speak.
3.
Maybe. Yeah. Right.
Just when you thought you were out, they pulled you back in.
Pull me back. Exactly.
There goes
Like,
my
I never,
money.
because you never thought you were getting anything else but the shows. I think that's what I was into. And all of a sudden there's all this new news and all that kind of stuff. And that just like really just, and then that's when I started listening to Star Wars podcasts. Cause I was like, I want to hear about more of this stuff going on and everything like that. So anyway,
I was excited about that acquisition just because of what they were able to accomplish with Marvel. Like I was just like, but they succeeded, and that was only 4 years into Marvel, but they had succeeded so perfectly in that time. It was like, well, let's see what they got here. Like it can't be worse than getting nothing. That was my thought. I'm like, they've done a good job there. Let's find it out.
Well, I had some friends, like people like saying like, Disney, well, they're going to have the Disney logo in front of it. For one thing, I was never one of those people who thought they were going to put the Disney logo in front. I just like, I never did. Cause like, I was like, you watch the Marvel movies. They don't just put like the,
They should,
like, I don't know why people like thought that they were going to do like something different than they were doing with their other property, Marvel, which was more like Star Wars, right? Like anyway, I'm with you. I was that guy too.
It just made sense. It's still actually, if you go to the Walt Disney Museum in San Francisco, there's a quote on the wall, and it's and I can't remember the quote verbatim. I have a picture of it somewhere, but the quote says it's George Lucas, and he says, "Star Wars is a Disney movie that wasn't made by Disney," or something. Like if Disney could have made Star Wars, he would have made Star Wars. It's something to that effect. Go to the San Francisco Disney Museum and look for yourself, because I can't remember. It's free to go. You have to pay for the tour, but it's free to go in the lobby, and it's right in there. But anyway, it's in there, and he said it, and it's so true. Like Walt Disney and George Lucas are cut from the same type of cloth of creativity and storytelling. So
world building, all that kind of stuff.
Not that Walt Disney's around anymore, but
no, right. But it's that spirit. It's that same spirit that he created with George. Yeah.
Exactly. It just, when I saw that quote, I was like, "Oh, this," and that I went there. I think just before. I think it was actually 6 months before Force Awakens. So no Disney movie had come out yet to ruin it. But that quote has always stuck in my mind. Not that I remember word for word, but it's there. So anyway, let's move on. More Rebels. Did you get into Rebels right away, or did you kind of put that on the back burner?
Dude. No. I was, again, once that announcement was made, and what's funny is a couple years before this, I remember, so we used to have a lunch table, and this is kind of what I wanted Bombadcast to be, was like at the college I went to, there was the lunch table of we were all Bible majors and big nerds, and we would spend the entire lunch talking about Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all that stuff. And I remember one day we were having a conversation, and I have a friend, and his brother actually is a follower of Bombadcast and stuff like. I don't know if Galanorian Saber, if you know if that name rings a bell, but Seth Parnell, but his brother was talking about how he doesn't. We were talking about for some reason remaking the Star Wars movies. And I'm like, we were all like, it's not going to happen. And he said, it's not going to happen until George passes away. Then it's going to be like all out, like first come, first serve, whoever gets to it. And it's going to be, people are going to go for it. Like he thought like it was going to be like after George passed that they were going to make more or redo everything. And a couple years after we get the announcement, and I'm just like that. I mean, I'm glad he was wrong that it was before George Pat, but like to see like all of this come out, it was just almost a little prophetic. It felt and everything. Cause he most of us were like, they're not going to do anything else. They're just going to be doing the shows and everything like that. I think we were still looking forward to the Star Wars live action show that was supposed to come out a couple years after Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Which was apparently supposed to have, was it Saw Gerrera as its main character, basically. So
apparently they did like 50 scripts or something for that show, 50 or 100 scripts.
Right.
So they live somewhere. They live somewhere out there. I don't know where. But you said you bought the Clone Wars on DVD. when it came up. But when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, they said, "Nah, Clone Wars is dead," and they killed it. They stabbed it in its heart, and they left it to rot away.
Pissed on its grave, all that stuff. Yeah,
did it all. But fans went nuts. Fans, there were and I don't mean any disrespect. There weren't a massive amount of there are a lot, but there are not a massive amount of Clone Wars fans.
No,
it was very
niche.
It was. I would say it was a niche animated show for sure. And I think, and I never.
There were only a couple
Disney.
of us at our lunch table that watched it. It was me and my buddy Cody Bradford. Shout out to him too. We would buy them and we would binge them together in his dorm room. That's what we would do.
That's awesome.
And so I have great memories of
but
that.
It wasn't a mass. Like not everybody watched it, and I never faulted Disney for that. Although I thought they could have ended it, but I never really faulted them for that, and I didn't fault them at all, and I still don't for the Legends thing. I'm like. Well, I don't know. It made sense to me. That made sense.
Yeah.
They're
I wasn't honestly when they made this announcement and they said like they're going to do everything from here on out is going to be canon. That's when I go because I wasn't able to keep up with everything. I can't remember. I think I read a few books like the Galaxy of Fear series. I read a few of those when I was a kid. I loved those. But I never kept up like religiously with everything. And I remember some of the stuff, like I remember there being an article in Insider about Chewbacca dying in Vector Prime.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, that's the stupidest thing ever. Why would you effing kill Chewbacca? Like, I remember like being so mad about that. So I wasn't like super tied to the EU and stuff, but I'm kind of the same way. I wasn't like upset. I was excited to keep. I'm like, I honestly, I can't keep up with everything now. I haven't been able to because there's too much.
It's impossible.
But I don't think I was. I think I was like, bummed a little bit, but I was never like, screw you, Disney. Like, why would you cancel the Clone Wars? Things like I never got mad. I've never been that type though, but because I was just so excited of the potential of what was to come. And the Rebel series, like that, it was like and I was like, Dave Filoni's moving over to that one. Like it's the guy who's in charge, and I don't even know if I knew his name at the time. I can't remember. Like
Cowboy Hat dude.
Cowboy Hat dude. Like the dude who works on Clone Wars is going over to that. And so why I'm like, I like what he's doing there. I would love to see some stuff in the original trilogy era. Like, yeah, give it to me. That's so I'm always like that. I can't get rid of. I'm less of an optimist than I used to be, but I still can't go full pessimist. Like I'm not full on pessimist. I still am that wide eyed. Like you could take me for a ride, probably. Like I'm a sucker. I feel like sometimes, but like I'm that glass half full kind of person. Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to look at it because I mean, this especially when it comes to Star Wars, which is just people making things up for entertainment value. Really, like I think people get too caught up and take it way too seriously for like it's literally, hey, look, I have my sword lights up. Like it's fun. It should just be fun. We shouldn't take it too seriously.
Well, and don't get me wrong, like I have I had stuff whenever they were, before Force Awakens came out and the other movies and stuff. Like I had like in my head, these are things you don't do. Like you would hear rumors about flashbacks and stuff. And I'm like, Star Wars doesn't do flashbacks. Don't do flashbacks. Cut to Last Jedi. And like, that's one of my favorite parts is the Rashomon thing where it's like, there's the three different like perspectives or there's the Luke's perspective, Ben's perspective. And then what I hold as like what actually happens, the truth that finally comes out. And, I love it, and there's like other things like, you should do before Rogue One came out. They should totally do a crawl. It's Star Wars, everything, even the video games do a crawl. And it makes no sense because it's like Star Wars, The Force Unleashed Part 2, massive unlocked edition. And then like it goes on and it's like, this is dumb, but you got to do Star Wars has a crawl. So you do a crawl and like that. I find like as we go on, like, I didn't want any music that wasn't like John Williams-esque. And we have like now some really cool, different music in the cartoons, but I mean, in The Mandalorian and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Some great compositions, great composing.
They needed the Mandalorian music to get away from the John Williams music.
Yeah.
And I think when they do the next movie, it should have a big epic score in in the vein of John Williams. But mean, John Williams, he won't be doing them probably ever again, and he won't be around forever. You've got to find something else, and Mandalorian hit it. They knocked it out of the park.
Oh, absolutely. And so, but that's what I find is like, even the things that I'm like, I don't know if I could take that. I'm always like, okay, that's really good. I really like that. So like everything that I even like held dear, like where these are Star Wars unforgivable sins you shouldn't commit. I end up, turning my stance on it and going, you know what? Like, that's actually not that bad. Like, it's like I want every new Star Wars thing that comes out. I'm like, please don't try to be the old stuff. Please give me something new. Like, now that's what I'm more interested in now is like, I want to experience this universe, but I want to experience, you can have the feel of the universe. You could do something completely different. And that's what I'm loving about this new era of stuff, especially with shows.
I think with Disney, it took them a little while to figure it out. How to make it something, and Mandalorian is now, Mandalorian was kind of like the plateau, and now they're like, I think they've earned now for us fans, like, okay, now we can maybe commit some of those sins. I still think a rated R Star Wars is not the way to go, but you could all of a sudden
that's my last one.
Yeah.
That's my last one, because I don't think, like, hard PG-13, sure. I don't think Star Wars should ever be. I don't think a Star Wars movie should be made where parents can't take their kids to it. And I don't want to see like a crazy bloody Star Wars. Like I tried listening to the audiobook for Death Troopers, and it was like, it's great.
I love
like
it.
It's not my favorite because I'm like, it doesn't feel like Star Wars.
I love Death Troopers. I read it at Halloween. It's my Halloween Star Wars book. But that's awesome. Like, that's a book though. But it's also a book. It's not. But see,
Clone Wars
to me, it's different.
Clone Wars did Star Wars Zombies the best possible way and left it still as Star Wars. Like, Clone Wars did a lot of different genres, and it still felt like Star Wars. And that's how you do it in universe, is how they did it with the brainworms and stuff like that. Like,
it's for me, like Death Troopers. I agree. If that was a movie, I'd be totally out of it. But because it's just I got the book at like a book set. I'm just like,
I'll go see it. I'll go see it. I just don't think I don't think it should happen.
No, James Gunn recently tweeted, somebody said, will you ever make a rated R Guardians of the Galaxy after he did the Suicide Squad? And he goes, no, that's wrong. He goes, Guardians of the Galaxy are not an R-rated. Suicide Squad has to be R-rated to him anyway. But he's like, Guardians of the Galaxy is not an R-rated property. And I was like, I respected that. I'm like, because it's a completely different, and that's how I feel about Star Wars. The Star Wars is for all of us, right? We're going to go. I'm going to take, my nieces and nephews. We're going to watch that movie. Like, Ghostbusters is like a hard PG, right? 13. You stay there. You don't cry. There's a line that some of these properties shouldn't cross. Star Wars, I think the rated R line is one of them.
Absolutely, man. Like, 100%. And again, like, I don't know. Like, I think they can do everything that you want them to do in an R in a PG-13 format, and it be just as good, if not better, frankly. Like, there's no reason to go into the sex, blood, and all that kind of stuff when we're already close enough. Like, it still feels, it doesn't feel lesser because it's not rated R. Like, I don't feel like you're talking down to me and stuff like that.
I'm someone that thinks that the Logan movie did it. I don't think it needed all the language that it had. They were just like, throw it. I'm like, this movie could have done with it. And only because I think sometimes when they say line, like, they're just swearing because they can swear. And I feel like that with TV now too. Like, TV is kind of like, they can say certain words and they throw them in. I'm like, you didn't need to say. I don't know. That's just maybe that's just me and I'm old and miserable. But I just feel.
No, I can see that. I mean, I understand Logan being R more than like a Star Wars, but like you said, like,
I'm not. That's not my argument. But I just,
it's a guy with knives in his hands. Like,
I understand the blood because of that. Like, the blood, I'm like, do the blood, but some of the swearing, I was just like, I don't know. It just, I don't know. It just felt to me like, I'm like, you're doing it because you can. It's a great movie. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, people think that's going to be allowed to swear. Yeah,
that's going to be the headline that comes out of this, James. Is like, James thinks that Logan should stop with the bad words, the bad language words.
See, in First Class, I thought his F-bomb was great.
Oh, that was Logan, that was
that one was worth it. Whereas Logan, not all of them, but there was a couple where I just sat in the theater like, they're just doing it because they can now. That's how I felt about it. Like Deadpool.
Now I just want to go watch that I just want to go watch that first class F-bomb because that's such a great. That's probably the best use of the F word in the history of the English language. Honestly,
yeah, it
in
might
my
be.
opinion.
Perfect cameo, perfect.
Hugh Jackman knows how to deliver an F-bomb, and what a sweetheart of a guy for someone who plays such a surly character. Just
that was
like
the first time he ever said it too. He's like, I've never sworn before.
That's so wild. It's so wild.
Okay, Rebels is out. You're into Rebels.
Oh,
Force Awakens
never missed an
now.
episode. Never missed an episode,
Never.
man. I was so into it.
You know what? Did you have a problem with the look of Rebels? I gotta ask you that because
I loved it.
Had a very specific look.
Yeah.
People said Rebels was too cartoony and round when it came out.
Well, and I mean, like, I was reading all the articles I was going in there, like, anything I could possibly devour, any content that I could get into my brain, I was taking. And it was, they said it was based on the, like, Ralph McQuarrie sketches, the original, sketches and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. And the way, like, I remember watching all the behind the scenes videos talking about, like, people like, I don't like the lightsabers, look like toothpicks. And Dave Filoni's like, oh yeah, we made them to look more like the original trilogy lightsabers because they were thinner, a little more flickery. And I remember, like, as a kid, like, like the little stick to open and close the blinds. Like, I took that off of my windows because like I would use as a lightsaber because it felt more like the lightsabers from the movies than like the big honking, like, telescoping ones and stuff. And I liked like, so I don't know, like I thought the look was really cool. I thought it was different. And I thought it was actually, it felt more, it had a better flow than the Clone Wars animation and everything. Like the characters moved in a more flowy, more natural way than that. Like in the Clone Wars, some of the lightsaber battles are cool, but they feel like, and in Rebels, they're like, you could see the swings and stuff like that. And I appreciated that. Like the end of the first season, the battle between the lightsaber duel between Kanan and the Inquisitor, like Kanan, Ezra, and the Grand Inquisitor, but mainly the part with the Grand Inquisitor and Kanan after he thinks that Ezra's dead. That lightsaber duel is one of my favorites in just all of Star Wars.
It's so good.
Like
I do forget about that one.
The emotion, the choreography, the way he uses Ezra's lightsaber against him and everything, the whole, like, their exchange of that was a mistake. Why? Because you have no one left to die for you. No, because now I have nothing left to lose. Is just like the whole, or nothing left to fear. That's the line. But just all of that, like, yeah, no, I love it so much, and I loved it from day one. I've never gotten like, look, you're allowed to not like something because you don't like the animation. That's fine. But I don't get not taking in something because it's animation or because it's an animation I don't like. Because if it's a good story, if it's good, I'll consume it. You know what I mean? Like that's me. But again, I love
Rebels right from the. I love Rebels from the get-go. I like the style of it. It surprised me how dark it got in season 3. The beginning of season 3, I think, got super dark. The end of season 2 was fantastic. Beginning of season 3 got really. That really surprised me. I was like, okay, it's found its footing. I felt like, and it ended, I think, right at the right time. It didn't overstay its welcome. It's just like, we're done. We're moving on. Let's go. And now it's gonna bleed into live action, which is like. No one saw that coming 5 years ago, whenever it ended, 4 years ago, whatever it was. 4 years ago.
That was in my dreams. Like whenever because like that was like the promise at the beginning of all this. You talk about 2012 was everything's going to be canon, everything's going to matter. And this is, I think, my favorite time. Like, I love the sequel trilogy and all that kind of stuff. But like now that we're in this time where characters from the animation are showing up in live action in the shows. This is one of my favorite times. Like I freak out. I'm like, I love it so much. I've always wanted the books, the comics, all that stuff to like cross over more. And the books and comics, I think they can do it a little more often and stuff like that.
Together,
maybe they put stuff in the animation. Yeah. But like now we're starting to get like those things are crossing over into like Cobb Vanth is a lot of people's favorite thing about Mandalorian season 2.
Shocked. Yeah.
I never thought I would go to Target and buy a Cobb Vanth t-shirt, but I own it now. And I'm so proud of it. because Cobb Vanth is such a badass character, right? Like it's so cool. And
there were rumors that was who Benicio del Toro was going to be playing in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
Were flying for a little while.
That,
but
Ezra,
I can't believe
all
they
that
did
stuff.
it, and they pulled it off, and they did it in a way that I watched it with my wife and my parents, and no one was like. Everyone knew who Cobb Vanth was. There was no questions about who he was. We knew more because of the book, but they knew what they needed to know for his purpose and what they were watching, and they did that perfectly. I thought.
Oh. Beautiful. It, like all of us who read the books and stuff are that meme where there's the cartoon of the guy standing at the party and like they don't't that Malakili, the Rancor Keeper, is also in that town.
Yeah.
Raising a hutlet.
Let's go into Force Awakens. We got to wrap. We're getting along here. I'm keeping you long.
I know.
You've got a Ghostbusters show.
You
got to go. You got Ghostbusters probably in like a half hour. You got to get to. So.
Probably, yeah.
Knowing
me.
Next showtime, you're going to go. Have you pre-ordered your copy of Ghostbusters yet to purchase?
Not yet.
Will that be a physical? That'll be a physical buy.
Oh, 100%, man. Like
I
missed. So there was something that came out at the same time. I think that the 30th anniversary came out the same time the 4K came out. Like the Steelbook, Ghostbusters Steelbook, and I missed that. And now you can't find it anywhere. It's sold out so quick. I had it in my hands at the store and said, "Oh, my at the time wife would kill me if I bought this too." And I kick myself every day for night. But like that's a physical buy, 100%. That's gonna be. I got to see what the Steelbook looks like. Sometimes the Steelbooks. Sometimes I like the regular box art than the Steelbook and stuff. It's just I'm weird like that. If it's just like a big face, I'm like, okay.
I think the Ghostbuster one. I went on Best Buy. I saw the Steelbook there. I thought it looked. If that's the art, the problem is I don't know if that's the actual finished artwork. It didn't say, but it looked nice. I thought it was it's like the visual dictionary they have for it's not called that, but the Afterlife book. It was that Ecto 1 driving. I'll buy anything with the Ecto 1. Anyway, let's go back to Star Wars because
back to Star Wars.
Force Awakens, your trailer, you saw it at Thanksgiving. It was like, oh my god, amazing. Everybody talked about that trailer. No one knew anything. Like the next day, Topps cards came out. They had all the names on it.
Yeah,
but the movie is finally coming out a year later. Do you go opening night? Do you go with a group of people? Do you wait a week? Do you just not go to the theater at all because you hate Disney Star Wars? How did you treat The Force Awakens?
So with The Force Awakens, I wasn't able, like I stayed up, like for most of the movies, I stayed up feverishly refreshing the AMC app, trying to get tickets when they dropped, and like everyone, so it's like close. Like I ended up not getting tickets to The Force Awakens till matinee the next day, so I didn't get to go opening night like on the Thursday, but I went on the day it was actually supposed to release. I got a couple tickets. Me and my ex, we went. And here's the thing, and we went like 40 minutes away from where we were because I think we went to. Did I get IMAX? I think I got IMAX. Yeah. Okay. So there's an IMAX theater like 40 minutes away right now. And so we went there, got lunch, everything. Here's the thing. I got sick midway through the movie. Like I got like a cold, like fever, and I didn't know. And like, I didn't feel it until Han gets run through with a lightsaber. And I started ugly crying like, and like my ex is sitting beside me and she looks at me, she goes, are you okay? And I'm just like, I'm like, it'll be fine. But I remember like it was so much worse because like I felt like absolute dog crap.
Yeah.
But I was like, we're making it through this movie. And then driving home, it was very clear I had a cold or something. I don't know. Like that's the first time I've ever felt a cold come on in my entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like through a 2-hour movie, like I'm fine when I get there. Then all of a sudden, what the hell happened, man?
Oh wow. Well, it is mid-December. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never experienced
in Michigan.
that though. Partway through the day, I'm like, oh, I just got sick. Usually you wake up and you're like, oh, there we go.
That's the thing. Like usually you kind of feel it the night before, but then you wake up like this was the first time, like midday, I'm like right in the middle of a Star War. And so that kind of like, I still loved it, but I remember like being like just congested, like feeling like driving home and everything. And I think we stopped at Barnes and Noble even before we got home to look at something. I had a friend call me and he was like all mad that they killed Han Solo and stuff. That was like it was just like weird. It was a weird day. It was a good and bad day. So
I always find it surprising that people didn't think going into it, I thought there was no way Han Solo was coming out of the movie alive. Like I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford said he would only come back ever if they killed him off. Like I was like, well, there's only one way to get out of this movie, and that's Han Solo's got to. And then the minute he's the Ben Kenobi character, you're like, well, he's dead.
Yeah,
like, there's no coming out of this one for him.
You see it coming from a mile away. Like even though I saw it, though, I mean, it was just like I still wasn't prepared. I still was like again. Crying so hard, the hardest I think I've ever cried until Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I won't spoil and everything. But like that movie, my mascara was running by the end of it. So
the Ecto one chase with Muncher, by the way, is my favorite scene. I love it.
It's so good.
Just love it.
That shot where it's like it's a super like panoramic shot, and you see like them from really far off, and you can see Muncher and the trap and the Ecto. Is one of my favorite shots in all of cinema. Anyway, they do such cool stuff with that movie. Anyway,
it was so good.
I'm excited for more. Anyway, let's go on.
Well, actually, Ghostbusters Afterlife compared to Force Awakens, I thought both of them did things better than the other one in certain aspects. But one thing Afterlife did that I don't know how to word it, but it wasn't a part 3. I felt it was a bridge to get to like a part 3. And I love that part of it. Where it's like, this isn't a movie about Ghostbusters, necessarily. It's a movie in the Ghostbusters world, and Ghostbusters 3 exists somewhere here. We don't know where,
right,
in what capacity, but this is in that world. And I love that take on it. Just loved it.
Yeah,
because you can't compare it to the first.
It exists as a video game.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But you can't compare this movie to the first 2 movies, really. Like it's almost not fair because it's a different beast altogether.
It's a movie about legacy and family and finding your place in the world, and it's beautiful, and it's my happy place right now. I said the other day online, and it's just
that's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Anyway,
that's awesome. All right, so anyway, blah blah blah. Movies come out, they're like, yay, Rogue One, good. Last Jedi is like, yeah, it's the best, it's the worst, it's the best, it's the worst. But when was your first Star Wars celebration?
So my first Star Wars celebration was 2019. And because so after Last Jedi came out, I basically started my Canon Junkie Twitter presence after that, because all my friends hated Last Jedi. All the friends that I grew up talking Star Wars with, none of them wanted to talk about any of the Disney stuff. They hated it. Like every time I talked to them, they're like, well, so I ended up getting in fights with people, and I didn't like that. And I was like, I want to find other people to talk to. Yeah. So that's when that kind of started, but go ahead.
Did they hate Disney Star Wars? I don't want to get into it too much, but I'm just curious. Like, did they hate Disney Star Wars before The Last Jedi, or was it The Last Jedi they made them all of a sudden in retrospect be like, no, they all suck? Because like Force Awakens was a movie that everybody on some level loved when it came out, and then like a year later, I think people were kind of whatever. But Rogue One, I don't know. I know people are like, I don't really like Rogue One, but everybody loved Rogue One. The Vader scene's impossible. If you like anything about Star Wars, the Vader scene is impossible not to love.
It's hard to not.
Yeah, and but then, and I'm not saying Rogue One's the best movie of. I'm not even close, but like Last Jedi came out, and it definitely split people. But all of a sudden, people are like, no, Disney ruined Star Wars. It's like, but you just like the first 2 that they made, maybe the Force Awakens, whatever. But you can't tell me all of us. So that's what I'm curious about. Did they hate it before Last Jedi? If you remember,
I had one friend. So the 2 projectionists that I befriended, we've been friends for a long time, and since 2005. And one of them actually, we were both like of the same Christian denomination back in the day, back when I was more of a churchgoer and all that. And we used to play in bands in the local music scene, like the local punk scene, kind of whatever. So like we knew of each other from another couple of like we've been friends for a while. Me and that guy loved The Force Awakens, and my friend who said called me and was like, "Hey, I didn't like it. It was a retread of he was one of the first. He was the first person I ever heard it's a retread of A New Hope. He was the first person, and
my dad was the first for me.
He waited. He's like, let me know when you see it because I have to talk to someone about this. I know it's from a genuine place of. I hope I've been a little bit in that camp with like a little bit of Rise of Skywalker didn't hit me exactly in the spot I wanted it to. I still love it and everything, but like it wasn't like my favorite of the like I was unfortunately a little underwhelmed, but not so much that I hated it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff in my life going on at that time tertiarily though that also like contributed to that. But I never want to be in that full on place though where I'm like I can't imagine being in that place where I'm like I full on like I can't believe I hate this so much. And it's because I know it's not like I'm hating it just because for them, it's like but then after Last Jedi, so we had that one friend, me and him agree, and then our other friend we're like it's not that close to it. You're fine, whatever. That friend liked Last Jedi to begin with initially, and then soured on it, and now it's like, and I haven't talked to them since, but like it's now. I mean, they love The Mandalorian and stuff, everything that's going on there. But they like Last Jedi was kind of like that other one for a lot of my friends, where they were like, what even is this? It's not Luke Skywalker. Why would he do this? Why, blah, 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 blah. Whereas, like, I don't know, my heart was ready to receive Luke Skywalker. Not being perfect and everything at the time. I don't know. That's seriously, The Last Jedi, like, backlash really bummed me out because again it was literally like the majority of my friends who love Star Wars were like I don't know about this.
I know this isn't like because I know there's a lot of like Twitter hate, but then the Twitter praise of The Last Jedi. But my theater, first of all, I paid $40 a ticket to go see The Last Jedi because my dad's birthday is December. Well, I'll tell you what, my dad's birthday is December 20th. And so Force Awakens came out. We saw it opening night. And then for his birthday, we're like, we're going to take you to go see it on your birthday. Because I think his birthday was a Sunday. So we're like, we'll go on the Sunday. And a group of us went. And then Rogue One was the same, but we couldn't take him until the new year. And after Rogue One, he goes, and my dad didn't like Force Awakens. He loved Rogue One, but he loves the prequels and the originals. And he's like, I want to, and my dad's not a movie guy. And he goes, I want to go with you guys on the opening night. That's when I want to go. Like, take me then. I was like, so Last Jedi comes in, his birthday is December 20th. I'm like, hey, for his birthday, we'll buy him a ticket. We'll take him early because it comes out on the 15th, 17th, whatever it was. That'll be his birthday.
It's the 17th. I remember because that was like the year my daughter was born, honestly.
Oh, well,
she was born in April of that year, but it's the same.
And you took her
the 17th is the day she was born. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we did it
for me to remember.
So it was the 17th. His birthday's the 20th. We'll take you early for it. And we usually get him like a Star Wars t-shirt just as a joke. So I'm like, okay, we got to buy these tickets. And there's like 15 or 20 of us, whatever it was, on top of like, and now we're adding like more. So, okay, we got to get these tickets. And they're like, the tickets in where we are actually, they're supposed to go out after the trailer dropped on Monday Night Football, but they went out at like an hour or two before. And so I was like, and I knew that from Rogue One. I'm like, okay, I got to be ready. So all day I'm like, refresh. And then the tickets come out. And the theater we wanted to see it in, they only had one option, and it was the fan event, and it was $40 a ticket. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, $40. But they're like, you get a gift and a free popcorn and a screening or something. Like, I'm like, oh, maybe it's the solo track. It would end up being like a 5-minute documentary on John Williams. It was fine, but it wasn't worth $40. None of it was worth $40, which was the problem. So we're like, so I'm like, I go to my wife. I'm like, there's no other option right now. And if I don't do it, like, are we going to get the, like, and she's like, it's his birthday. Let's do the $40. So we got the 40. I talked to all my friends. Everyone's like, fine. It's Star Wars. Like, we all go one, like, fine. I was shocked. So there's like, we spent like $900 on tickets. We get them. That's in October. But we go into the theater. Everyone in this theater has paid $40. They give us this tiny popcorn, some Topps trading cards that nobody over like 10 wanted. And then we watched this John Williams thing where it was like 3 minutes long. And then the movie happens. And I like The Last Jedi. I think at the time I gave it like an 8 out of 10 or something when we did our review after.
Yeah.
I like The Last Jedi. I do have a lot of problems with it, but they're not the problems other people have, so I never talk about them because I don't care. There's just personal things that I have, whatever. But it was $40, and there was just this silence, and I've never been in a theater so silent in my life. And I don't bring this up either because of all the hate, right? And we're further enough along that the people who hate Star Wars are gone. But it's like, but like it was so silent, and everyone was just like miserable, kind of leaving the theater. And my dad was like, "That was not worth $40." My dad is like, he liked Rogue One a lot. Didn't like any other movie that they made.
Yeah,
but he loves The Mandalorian. And like I say, he likes the original and the prequel. And he's not a hater. Like that's his opinion. He's 60 whatever. He doesn't care what people think.
I think we need to give a pass to because my parents are in their 60s and stuff. I mean, they basically like everything too, but like it's
my mom loves
people a pass. At some point.
My mom loves them all. My dad.
That's my mom and dad too. Like it's insane. I don't know why my parents are they love all of it. But whatever. It's probably because they're like, oh, we get to watch it with you. Whatever. Like whatever. Some kind of sentimental parent stuff like that.
But I'll never forget that $40 a ticket though. Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker. I was like, I don't really care. We're waiting for another show. That was kind of like, it's like we're waiting. Yeah.
Well, I get like the disappointment. Like I could get like, as long as you're not like one of those vocal people a vocal person online who's harassing people of color, LGBTQ, people like anyone, even if you're just like criticizing people who like it because they like it and you're saying, well, you're not a real fan and stuff. And I mean, you could do that with any of the films and stuff, it's not just the people who hate the Disney Star Wars stuff, I mean, you could do that with anything, but it's just not, not to get into that kind of stuff, like not to get too deep into but I could see being disappointed a little bit and go, if that's how it hit you, I'm sorry, and it's perfectly fine.
But this happened with the prequels too. Like you were probably too young, but it happened with the prequels where I went to go see the prequels and I would come Attack of the Clones was the one I was disappointed in because it was ruined for me because of the internet. Like I knew the entire movie. I've talked about that a million times, so I won't get into it. But like I loved the Phantom Menace. And then when I saw the hate, I was like, I don't get it. But it was in social media wasn't a thing. And if it was, it probably would have been worse or on par with what we're seeing now. And that's so that's for me, I look at it, I'm like, it's Star Wars. People just don't like Star Wars. That's what I've come to the conclusion of is people have an idea of what Star Wars is to them. And the movies, no matter if it's George Lucas, now they think it's George Lucas, but no matter who it is, it's just not going to meet what they think is Star Wars. And I think part of it is we've all, it's been 40 plus years. We've all entered it in a different avenue. We've all taken a different path to Star Wars. So for you, it's those VHS. For me, it's the toys. For somebody else, it's Rebels. For somebody else, it's Last Jedi. Like everyone has a different path to get there, and so we all have a different perspective on it. And whatever.
Well, and some of us who have been around a lot longer need to realize, and I'm not saying either of us are like that at all, but I've seen people like you feel like you deserve more because you've been at it longer, but it's not really, it shouldn't work that way because especially if you love something, you want it to continue, you better hope that new people are coming in and stuff like that.
I was disappointed we got so much Han, Luke, and Leia. I was like, let's move on. I'm good with Rey, Finn, and Poe. Let's go. Like
I had a moment like that at the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes,
I was
me
like,
too.
I was like, okay, I love the old guys, but it feels like a little like, okay, I know they're here now, but like, I want to follow up on where Trevor and Podcast and Phoebe and Lucky, on them too. Paul Rudd, all of them are.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Even that one, I was like, I as much as I appreciate what happened in that, I was like, I could have done without it even, I'm okay with it. I think
it's a great moment. It's great.
It is.
He did that. But yeah, like, and again, just the way that we're on Ghostbusters again, but like the way it ends, I have a lot of hopes for continued, at least another movie, and high hopes for like movies, live action TV shows. Give me whatever you want. Like I would, can you imagine a live action Ghostbusters television show?
It would be, oh man.
I would. Yeah. I know, like it's too much to think about right now. The potential.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to a celebration. We should wrap this
celebration. We'll wrap this up. Sorry. I'm usually, you
me.
know what I usually get? People are usually like, "You're the longest episode we've ever done." So like, yeah, I know.
You're I almost had a longer one, but I cut it off. I said, "No, we're done." But you're up there now. You won't beat Pete Fletzer's episode, but I'm trying to shorten them from that one. So
okay.
We can go for the record.
I'll let the Podfather ride, I guess. Whatever. It's fine. I'm one of his Don. Is it a Don? Like, what's underneath? Like, he's the Don. Like, I'm one of the lieutenants in that. I suppose. So maybe can I give myself that, Pete? Can I? I don't know. I know Scotty's your stepson or whatever. Anyway. I'm the crazy brother.
Star Wars Celebration Chicago. How did that come about? So you start your Twitter because you want to meet people who actually like this movie, and hopefully that happened because Twitter is Twitter. But then you don't have you started the podcast after, so you don't have that going in. So what led you to Star Wars Celebration Chicago?
So right before my ex and I moved into our house, like our first house and stuff, the Star Wars show just started on YouTube. I was starting to catch all that, and it was a couple years after we got the house actually, but like. I give too much background information. That's my bad. Anyway, let's get to the meat of the story here. I am watching an episode of the Star Wars show after, this is like 2018, I think. Yeah. Whenever they made the announcement that it was going to be in Chicago on the Star Wars show. And I come into the living room where my ex is in tears. And I go, it's going to be in Chicago, which is like 2.5 hours away from where we live, actually. Yeah. I've never been this close to where a celebration is going to happen. I've read about it. I've been like, oh, this is so cool. I would love to go someday, but it's always so far. And I was a little Arkansas country mouse back in the day going like, I don't know if I could travel all that way, like kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I don't know what my headspace was in. I just was never in I'm going to travel to go to one of these things someday. And this is one of the great moments I remember from that relationship. She goes, "You have to go." And so that was like, it was beautiful. Again, like our daughter had just been born the year before and everything. It was just kind of that's another moment in my life. I remember like, that's a moment in my Star Wars journey that just felt like a turning point and everything for my life and everything. It feels like a big moment. And so the time comes, I get my ticket. She didn't want to go. She was going to stay home with the kid. No, I couldn't really find anyone who wanted to go. So I drove to Chicago for we went the October before with a couple of our friends. And the wives had went to, some kind of convention, and the husbands kind of walked around, Chicago and stuff like that. Stayed with an uncle of my friend who I was walking around with. And so I had been to Chicago, biggest city I've ever been to in my entire life. I couldn't believe it. I'd been to Memphis. I thought like I knew what big cities were. You don't know. You don't know what big cities are until you go to like a Chicago, until you go to like a Manhattan or something like that. There's no, you don't know what it is. And I remember being so nervous driving to Chicago on my own, going through the toll booths, everything like that. I get to my hotel, I park in the parking because like that's part of my thing. Because like that's another thing about Chicago. I was like, man, I don't want to go. Like, where am I going to park? It costs like $100 to park your car for however many days. I got a hotel a mile away from the convention center. I walked to the convention center every day, and the first day, at one of the Resistance broadcast meetups, I met Scotty J-Ro and his lovely now fiance Katie and Katie Scarborough, and they are. The rest, as they say, is history. But like that was like, we didn't hang out that first day. I was walking around on my own. I met the first people I ran into that I were like people I watched at the time were Ken Knapsack, Joseph Scrimshaw, and Mark Ellis. Got a selfie with them, and what's his name, who used to work for Entertainment Weekly, Bresnikan, was walking by at the time, and they go, "Hey, Bresnikan, can you take the picture for us?" So Bresnikan took this picture. I could post this later. And stuff. It was just like little me.
It's awesome.
Just getting into the Twitter world, knowing who these people were and everything at the time. It was such a surreal experience. But again, so that first day I spent kind of on my own. I did a couple meetups for like Black Series Rebels and things like that. The next day, I get up, I come back to the convention center. I'm in the huge line to get to the main floor to watch the the big panel, the episode 9 panel. Before we knew the name, before we knew Palpatine, before we knew anything. And Scotty Jero and Katie Scarborough and their buddy, like they are like, hey, they recognize me in the crowd and like, hey, how you doing? And like, oh, pretty good. Like, hey, you want to get in line with us and stuff? So they kind of took me under their wing, and like I'd say they like adopted me like a little puppy. And that infamous video now that Scotty and I have of him freaking out that Katie recorded. It's funny. People call him a virgin and like, like a single living in his mom's basement that probably smells like BO in that room. It smelled a little like BO, but like Scotty's, I want everyone to know I was there. That's Scotty's very awesome girlfriend at the time, now fiance again, taking that video. I am the shoulders in front of him. So like that day, like Bombadcast history was made right there. And
it's got a couple of views.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a few. It's got a few. And keep. I think John Campia used it without asking permission in his Why We Love Trailers documentary and stuff, which was great.
Oh, really?
Thanks, John. Yeah, thanks, John. But he's why am I concerned? The man's already he's already shooting himself in the foot anyway. Not to get into Twitter drama, but no, it's, I mean, we've gotten a couple of like we got someone just recently asked Scotty if they could use the raw footage from that in their documentary and stuff. It's a great reaction and stuff like that. And you could also see Matt from Blue Bantha Milk. He's right next to Scotty and stuff. So it's like you got Matt from Blue Bantha, me and Scotty on the shoulders. Scotty keeps like, me and Scotty never hung out. He's grabbing my shoulders and shaking me and stuff like that whole time. Like if you can, I don't know if you can see much of that in the video, but like I remember like vividly, like being like, we've never hung out. I don't care. This is awesome. This is communal experience. It's what I live for. I love I love that kind of stuff. And it just, I'll never forget. And then the rest of the weekend was just absolutely fantastic. Something, again, it's a moment I'll never forget. It's why I'm so excited. I'm trying my hardest. I've got to make it to Anaheim because it's something, again, it's not like, I realize not everyone can do it. But if you're a diehard Star Wars fan and you've never been, if you can make it to one, just go to one and try to do as much as you can, but don't freak out. The fun times happen outside of the panels, honestly.
Yes.
Fun times happen with the relationships you make, because that's where we all go. That's where all of us who are super into it, that's where we go.
When I went to Orlando, the day we picked up tickets, like the day before, 2 days before it started, we walked in and there was a woman behind us. She goes, "Oh, is this your first one?" And we're like, "Yeah." She goes, "Word of advice, don't worry about the panels. Like they are what they are, but it's everything around the panel." And we didn't listen to her because we know a lot better. And and then when that celebration ended, I was like, the last day was Easter Sunday, and me and my wife just went alone and we walked around, and I was like, this is the best day I've had as a whole. Like there are moments obviously with like some of the panels were awesome, but like I'm like, this is the best day I've had as a whole. And we didn't do one panel. We just like did whatever we wanted. And it was my favorite moment. And yeah, you meet people and you have it's great. I don't know how you feel, but they blocked out the Mandalorian video, right? Like they showed the whatever it was, behind the scenes. They didn't show it to the public. It was only were you in that?
I wasn't in that when I was on the show floor. My buddy was in it, and I was like, I got into the Galaxy's Edge panel. That's the Galaxy's Edge, but where they've revealed the sodas. That's what, but Josh Gad was hosting this, and that was pretty great.
Oh,
I
that's
sent a
pretty
picture
good,
of a guy dressed as George Lucas to my ex, and she goes, "Was that him?" I'm like, "No, he's not. He's not going to be out in the crowd shaking hands."
Can you
no.
imagine?
All right, yeah, hi.
But
How you doing? It's
I'm
me,
okay
George.
with them blocking things for the viewers though, because I know like people save up a lot of hard-earned money to go to these, and maybe they only go to one, and maybe they only get into that Mandalorian panel, and if they're showing that for that group of people that did that, I'm gonna see something eventually. Like they're gonna show me something sitting on my ass at home. But like those people who spent all their money, spent all that travel time, have the hotel, all that, give them. I'm fine with them if they get a poster. I'm fine with all of that.
That's why you go to
give
these
them
things.
something. Exactly. That's
why you enter the lotteries and try to and again, the reason I didn't only made it into one is because I was going on my own. You could pool your seats and stuff. So if this next time, it's over. We're all getting into all the panels and stuff because I got like a crew now. I got a celebration wolf pack I'm gonna be there with. Yeah, so but no, I'm with you because I remember being like bummed, and maybe at the time I was like, I wish I could have seen that, but like I love it for my friends and stuff, and I try to like I know I've painted myself as like a saint of all saints, but I get the jealous green monster for sure. I become a jealous green-eyed monster sometimes, and I just want to work on being happy for people when they get to do stuff, and like you said, it is. People save up, they scrimp, they save. This is like their vacation. This is why they go and do this. They've waited for hours sometimes. I mean, the lotteries are honestly, I know people like to stay in the lines, but the lottery should stay so people can explore more of the stuff.
Dude, no, the lines were the worst things of all time at Orlando. It was.
I've heard people like, I made the best friends ever, but I mean, you can make friends on the floor. You can make friends at the bars and doing different stuff like that.
The lines in Orlando weren't right. I'll just say that there was a lot of we were cattle. Like you had to show up at like 3 a.m. just to get in by the time it opened at 10, it's like, what is happening here? Like,
it was workers who are working the line who don't even like Star Wars, I know, especially in Chicago, they were like, hey, come on. Hey, you get in there. No,
I like Chicago, the lottery. You're still going to meet people without those. And the lives, look, people,
you'll meet better people.
Cleaner people. We showed up like 1 or 2 days early to get some tickets. People were already lining up for the first panel 2 days before outside. I was like, I'm sorry. I love Star Wars. I'm not that committed. I'm just not going to do it.
I want to go experience more stuff. Yeah,
exactly. You want to, and I'm in Florida. I don't want to spend 2 days in Florida outside sleeping on the sidewalk, but that's me. Nothing against people who did that. It's just that's a personal preference.
Yeah,
we should
exactly.
We should wrap it up. We're hitting on 2 hours soon. We should.
Hey, you know what? It is what it is. You can send your complaints up to Pete Fletzer because apparently he's my boss. I think I don't know. Yep. Maybe
he's the Don.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Yeah, send him up to the Don. So
yeah, good old Pete's a great guy. Actually, I did this episode. An interview with him. He had been doing his podcast for like 2 months at the time, and
wow,
it's awesome to see how much he's blown up. Yeah, like just
dude, so you got him like right at the beginning. Is it for some reason he likes me and Scotty? I don't know what the deal is. So whatever.
Yeah, I don't get it either because I met both of you now, and I'm like, well.
And it's not that. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about for sure. Yeah.
No, you guys are great, and you know what? You don't take it too seriously to the extreme. It's like, let's just have a good time. That's what it is.
No, we started our show on the basis of talking about Eopie farts and things like that. Like, that was like one of our early running jokes. It's just like talking about Eopie farts and stuff like that.
How long did it take you guys to start up the podcast?
I mean, so after Celebration, it was that summer. I was like, hey, you want to start something? And we just kind of went back and forth, like, okay, what do we want to do? What do we want to call it? We came up with Bombadcast. We came up with the Stay Bombad catchphrase and stuff like that. And then we just kind of hit the ground. Like, I didn't have a laptop at the time. I was using my ex's. And so, that was the thing. Like, it got to a point where she was like, there's too many recordings on my laptop. You need to get your own. And so, it's just been, it was like, I think it was June or July. June, we were on we guested on a show after we'd recorded our first episode, but before it released. And so it was just, kind of a whirlwind after that. It was just one of those things. We just kind of kept up with each other. And then again, the rest, as they say, is history. And now almost every Thursday night, except for the past couple, we're taking a little break off for the holidays until Book of Boba Fett starts up. Then the Thursday after Book of Boba Fett, we're going to start our Book of Boba Fett reaction show, Book of Bombad. So plug. There you go. I see. I do plugs before you even ask. So.
Oh, we're gonna end the show with you plugging away, so don't worry. I have more chances to plug. No, that's awesome, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I was gonna say something, and now the Bombad just threw me right off.
I have that effect on people, so.
But no, but you know what, you establish, you can't. I learned one thing when we started doing this 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, is you can't, when you first start, you have to go hard and you can't take any weeks off. Now we're like, 3 weeks go by, we haven't done a podcast. We know we'll go back to it, but early on, when you don't go back to it, you may never go back to it again. You have to like establish, not for like listeners or viewers, for yourselves. You have to establish yourself. So you guys are safe enough.
You have to get in a routine.
You could take 2 weeks off. Yeah, it becomes a routine. Take a couple weeks off. That's fine. You're going to go back to it. But this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me. Sorry we took up your entire day.
No, you can look. I'm sorry. I took a look. Listen. I'm the one who talked a ton, and so I seriously. Thank you so much, James, for having me on. And honestly, going through year by year, it's been a while since people have asked me about my Star Wars story, how it started, and I go back to those same couple of stories I told you at the beginning. But to go through year by year almost, or moment by moment, was really kind of just something special that I haven't got to do, honestly, on any other show. And so thank you for that, honestly.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll have to do it again when the next movie comes out in 2037 or whenever.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime, man.
We'll do it. But I'm going to be DMing you because I want your Star Wars rankings list, top to bottom.
Ooh.
Don't put too much stock into it, because what we do on this channel is every January 1st, we combine everybody's lists and we make and I add them together and we make one big list. And if you want The Last Jedi to move up, you've got to remove it, because it's either here or it's
put my boxing gloves on. I got to put my boxing gloves on.
It comes around the middle, I think. It's going to end at number 5 or 6, I think, maybe 7, around there. So we're because it's either 1 or 2 or the last one. It's never in the middle, which makes it in the middle. But like I said, I'd love your list. Don't put any stock in. Don't care too much. The ones you like, don't worry if it's 1, 2, 3. Just throw them up top. The ones you don't like, put them on the bottom, and the ones in the middle, because they're all going to get added together, and there's going to be over 30 of them. So you're going to bleed in. So it's not. Yeah, everyone, people stress too much over their rankings. I'm like, they're not real.
Yeah,
mine changes every day too.
You realize we have a life outside of this, right? Yeah, you have to go and you have to pay bills and stuff, so it's fine.
This is just for fun, and we just do it every new year, and it changes every year, so it's a lot of fun to see how it changes, and it's just for fun. But thank you. Tell everybody where they can find you. Plug away. This is your chance to plug.
Well, first of all, just if I could plug this a little bit, if you go and look at the Bombadcast page, I shared today on recording. I don't know when this is going to release, but there's we've I guess I'll still post this because they'll still need money and stuff, but for the victims of the tornado that happened in Kentucky, I shared some tweets on the Bombadcast thing. We shared some tweets of where you can donate to help people in that. And I mean, look, it's not going to stop after the holidays. You still need, these people are still going to need help and stuff like that. So go and do that. If I can get serious for a second, that's just, again, our buddy Star Wars Bill Sheehy from Skywalking Through the League. He wasn't affected, but he knows people who were affected. And so it's very important that, we, as a community of fans, we have the potential to do a lot of good. And so if you can give, go get it. If you can't, please share. That's my big serious one. If you want to see me talking about less serious stuff, probably Eopie farts and mayonnaise noises and other things that like sound disgusting and also are if you want to see us like rocking out to the Pizza Time Players from Chuck E. Cheese playing Man in the Mirror, you can find that most Thursdays, every Thursday, except for, again, the next couple of the holidays, on the Bombadcast YouTube channel. That's our main show. Me and Scotty, we have a blast every Thursday. We talk mainly about Star Wars, but some weird niche things in and around Star Wars. And also, we spent 2 weeks on Ghostbusters. We talked about the old films and things like kind of building up to Afterlife, and then we did an immediate reaction of Afterlife. So go check those out. But my buddy Scotty does Bombad Gaming, where he plays games like every Wednesday night. He's been playing on Saturday as well, like Breath of the Wild and stuff, like Zelda. So go check him out Wednesdays, sometimes on Saturdays. And then I do a show. It's a little bit on hiatus right now. I called it season 1 of Hyperfocus is on the Bombadcast YouTube channel. I sit down with anyone from this Star Wars community, fans, podcasters, YouTubers, creators, different people. And we just have a conversation about whatever they're focused on, what they're hyper focused on, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be nerd culture, whether it be music. We did an entire episode on basically a Danzig and the occult with Peter Townley, who used to be the co-host of the Star Wars show. And like Amazing. he had a PowerPoint presentation and everything. That's the season finale. It's fantastic. And coming up, the new season is going to be sometime in January. I haven't picked the date yet, but my first guest is going to be Andy from Friends of the Force Rewatch, and they are a fantastic guest. I've been on their show, and I'm so excited to have them on finally and everything. And it's going to be a great conversation. Just get ready. There's more good, awesome guests coming up, and I'm probably going to have James on at some point to hyper focus. We'll probably talk more about Ghostbusters. I don't know, but that's all we talk about whatever you want. Cause again, like I like to say on Hyperfocus, the guest programs the show. So, and that could be good or it could blow up in our faces. We'll see. But anyway, James, that's it, man. That's my regurgitations. Thank you so much.
Just gonna throw your house. Just get out of here. You're like, I'm done.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry to keep you so long, but thank you so much. This has been such an awesome conversation. I've had such a blast, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been a great time. Thanks so much for joining me. We're hitting Pete Fletzer time now. You're just gonna miss his 2 hour. You know, you're over 2 hours, but I don't know if you're gonna pass him or not. So I'm sorry about that. Guinness Book of World
we'll have to see. I'm like, I'm gonna get really competitive with Pete here in a second in the text messages.
I'll add a song to the end of this that'll put you over the top.
There we go. There we go.
We'll just play music for 20
James.
minutes. Yeah, you got it. You got the record. But thanks, man. This has been a lot of fun. Great to hear your story, and look forward to what you got going on the channel in the new year. And that's everything. Until next time, everybody watching, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're still around. And may the force of others be with you.
Later, guys.
Hey, scumbags. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.